sun still look the same. There's something sinister. Tell me, is there somewhere I can place the blame? Is this all that we've got? Is this all that we've amounted to? I was down on my luck, baby, I just needed a little boost from you. All of heaven's saints, oh my darling, they've got nothing on you. Asleep at heaven's gates, you were tired of trying, and I know how that feels. But what a glorious sunrise. Forgotten how that warming light feels upon my skin. Glorious sunrise. I'm in. Saints, oh my darling, they've got nothing on you. Asleep at heaven's gates, you were tired of trying, and I know how that feels, I do. But what a glorious I'm in. What a glorious sunrise.
All right, hello and welcome everybody. It's good to see everybody here today. Today we're going to have two wonderful guests, Brant Danger and Donald Kent. These are two wonderful creators in the white positive sphere. And before we bring them on, I wanted to let everyone know that what we are doing is using a interface. This week I tested restream.io, and that's what we are using. And currently, I don't know why it's not showing up in the feed right now. I should be. There's no reason I shouldn't be, but we're going to add our guests here in just a second. Before we get rolling, I'd like you to know that today, if we have any type of audio or video issues, it's because This is the first full stream I have done broadcasting to 4 platforms. We are on DLive, Trovo, and Entropy, as well as YouTube today. And it is through Restream.io. And I welcome you all to please share this stream out. I want as many viewers here as I can for these 2 wonderful creators, and hopefully people who would gladly call me friend. I consider them friends in what we're doing. And yeah, I do hear the audio popping occasionally, Steve. I hear that too. So we're going to get started here in just a second. The reason I bring up Entropy is not only is that where you can financially support the channel, but on the Entropy widget over on Entropy on the left-hand side, you can pose long-form questions and comments to me and my panelists. I highly recommend that you use that. That's the question widget of Entropy over on the left-hand side, also known as the Tall Kevin widget here in the White Positive Sphere. I'm going to be putting that link, as well as links to both PayPal and Cash App, into the chat here. And as I said, please post your questions there for me and the panelists, and I will get to those every 30 minutes to an hour. We'll be doing those a few times during the stream. And without further ado, we're going to start bringing on our friends here. We're going to say hello to American Zarathustra and Brant Danger. You guys are live and should be able to talk. Are you here?
Hello, hello. It's good to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Now, we're going to find out why it's not showing us pop up on the screen here. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's...
Is it computer gremlins, maybe, or?
I don't know exactly. It seemed like once I shared that tab, it hid us. And so we're going to try to share a tab again. We're going to share Entropy so people can see that. Now, over here, we should be able to see Entropy now. It's up on the
There
screen.
We go. Yep.
And it's still not showing us for some reason. Let me go, let's see if I can toggle. Oh, I think that's it. Does that got it? Let's see. No, that's chat overlay.
The growing pains of the great exodus off of the mainstream media and onto other platforms.
Yes.
So family.
See, I've already done 2 test streams. I've already done two test streams with this, and it worked just fine. I don't know why our little nameplates are on now.
My show on American Zarathustra on YouTube is just pre-recorded, but one of these days soon I'm going to have to get into this game here and do more live shows and handle all this technical fun stuff.
Okay, there I fixed it. What I had to do was I had to go into graphics settings, and for some reason, hide the avatar placeholders was unchecked, or was checked for some reason. I don't know why, but we have that sorted out now. So we our first technical difficulty here. All right, let's go to. I like this format for now.
Yeah, I do too.
Let's do.
We're rolling with the punches here, folks.
Yeah, we're rolling with the punches.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know.
How's everybody in the chat?
Let's do a different background here. Let's see what we got. Let's do. I like that one. That one looks pretty poppin'. Let's do that one. Okay, here we go. Great. Let's give a shout out to everybody who stumbled through that cumbersome opening here with us. Oh, we have Euphemia Signe. I think is how your Euphemia Signe. Hello, sister. Good to see you here. We've got Nullus with us today. Welcome, Nullus. We got Steve, Great Sky Troll. I recognize his name from around the way. Art Acrobats. Ragnar. We got some scrubs in the chat. Oi to all the scrubs. How you guys doing? All right. We've got Pedro lurking. We've got Jack. And it looks like we got a few other usuals here. I see the Alabaster. Good to see you here, my sister. Nice to see you. All right, Ragnar Iron Spear. We got a lot of the usuals with us already, so that's nice to see. Today, the stream, we don't have my co-host Zen with us yet. He had some errands and stuff he had to do for him and his today. So if he joins, it won't be till later. But what we're going to be doing today is focusing on why the positivity of any of the nationalist movements that we're a part of matters, because you can speak till you're blue in the face about problems, but unless you have something relatable, emotional, sympathetic, and engaging to reach people, then your movement's not going to grow, and it's going to be hard to get people to care. And these 2 wonderful men that we have on our show today are part of what's going to make us have a glorious sunrise, and that's why I chose the song I did to get the show started. So, Donald and Brant, I'm going to let you guys talk a while. We're going to start with Donald. Why don't you take a moment to tell us who you are and what you're involved in, and then Brant will do the same with you.
Well, all right. It's first of all great to be here. It's so great to see my friends in the chat and to meet some new friends as well. So my website is americanzarathustra.com, and from there you can link out to my show, which is called Imperium Art on YouTube, and Gaius Nullis is my friend and co-host on that. So I also help him co-host his show every other Sunday on the White Art Collective D Live. It's a poetry cast. We talk about lots of different themes. We have some really, really fascinating guests, and of course, music, etc. So yeah, I'm a comic book illustrator, art teacher. I'm right now I'm finishing up the cover for the next White People's Quarterly, as doing art and design, etc. Make my own music. There's a new song that I put out called "Someday Is Today." That's on my YouTube channel, and I very strongly urge everyone to go check it out. It's very fun and positive. That fits right in with the theme of this show.
I've got your website, AmericanZarathustra.com, and your YouTube channel shared. Now, I know that you probably back up your stuff on BitChute like I do, right?
I don't, but I
okay.
have all my videos on a hard drive. So I'm
Okay,
basically waiting for the right place to figure out, okay, I'm going to
one of the things I recommend to you that I do all the people in the white positive spheres now is to use Odyssey. LBRY Odyssey will automatically, within the span of a week, put all of your content from YouTube exactly as it is, except comments, of course, over on the Odyssey site and replicate your channel on Odyssey. I've done that recently. Dozens of other creators in our spheres have. You should definitely make sure your work isn't lost and put your stuff up over on Odyssey, because that seems to be the quote-unquote new YouTube on the blog.
Right. Everybody's talking about it right now. So
Now, you mentioned first up something that you do with Nullis. Is that on your YouTube channel, or is that another link I need to share?
So I'm a affiliate member of the White Art Collective.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
let me get that link. I've got it in my show notes here. I've got a big Word file where I have dozens and dozens of links where I share different people's work and stuff.
So
I've even been on their whack karaoke before, their whackarokey.
Yeah, we were on it together actually. That's I think the first time I met you. So
I think that's the first time we ever spoke was on there.
Your rendition of "Eye of the Tiger" is absolutely epic. So if
well, I enjoy making a fool of myself singing and being playful. So it was definitely a good time.
Talk about positive.
White Art Collective. You can find all their links to YouTube and Gab and DLive and all the stuff that they have over on the White Art Collective. Not YouTube. BitChute and DLive is what they do over there.
So
and of course, you got Mamas and the Pepes, and we know them too. And they're part of the White Art Collective too.
Sure. So Nullis is an extraordinary poet, and I would also say a historian as well. And he helps us in the white positive sphere to bridge sort of our American community with the European community. Anybody who knows him knows these things, and he's just a super bright guy and very fun. Great guy to banter with, and just a great friend. So he runs a real cozy show. It's a very rich and deep topics that he covers. Again, lots of great guests. It's the shows can be 2 to 3 hours long, so they're really for people that want to do a deep dive on white culture and these kind of things.
That's interesting. And what's the channel? I might already subscribe to it. What's it called?
So they're on DLive. So it's dlive.tv/White Art Collective.
Okay. All right, got you.
Right.
So
and
I didn't know that Nullis was the one that was behind that. My bad.
Yeah, he produces the show. It's quite a lot of work putting it together, and the quality shows. When you see all that's on there, but very highly recommended. And so
I have my co-host is now here. Hi, Zen. I see you in the chat. Zen, if you want to be here in the chat, you're welcome to hop in, but no pressure if you don't want to, since we got a lot to talk about with Brant and Donald here. But you're welcome to hop on if you so desire. But yeah, the White Art Collective is a lot of fun. I visit streams when I can. I stay busy taking care of my family and trying to make my own content and trying to catch up on Jason's marathon streams.
Yeah, right. Right.
So I don't get to visit a lot. And unfortunately, White Art Collective does stuff in the evenings, and I turn in early because I keep grandma hours.
Oh, okay. I got it. Boomer hours.
I keep boomer hours. Yeah, real boomer gang hours here.
That's the name of our new band right there. Boomer Hours.
Yeah. Zen said he'll get on when he can.
So I had Brant on my American Zarathustra YouTube channel just recently.
You did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm an art. I don't teach anymore, but I was an art teacher for about 20 years. I also taught English as a second language in Asia for 4 years, and blah blah blah. So I have a deep background in education, and it's something that we need a guy in our sphere who's the go-to guy to talk about education. And so far, I would say Brant would be number one. So it's
definitely. I just shared the link to your guys' conversation in the chat for us here.
Thank you. So he's just a really important voice, and I mean, he's just also really fun to talk with too. So I'd like to do more talking with him. I think inevitably at some point I'm going to have to produce some educational content for his website, his project, and we'll probably go into that a little later today.
Sounds good. Well, Brant, let's step over to you. Why don't you tell us about yourself, and we'll share whatever links and ideas and stuff you want us to share today.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, welcome Zen. Hello, friend.
All right. Well, first I want to say to Donald that it was a pleasure being on a show last Saturday. And for people that listened to that interview, you could probably tell that during the interview, we became best friends for life.
Exactly.
And later on today, we're going to grill and then braid each other's hair. So I want everyone to know that, first of all.
Speaking of creators in our sphere, my friend Lomax here in chat, he's a wonderful audio video creator. I don't know if you guys have noticed the beautiful intro to my videos that I've been using the last few weeks. He made that for me. He is wonderful at creating beautiful audio video work, and he made me the most perfect intro. Because one of the things I love on my channel is doing morning walks, and he made this wonderful intro with the bars from the Star Spangled Banner by the Dawn's Early Light played in music, and it's just a perfect little intro. So, thank you, Lomax. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to let you know that he's a guy that I met. I think I forget where I met him exactly, but he's been around for a while now, and he made a wonderful thing for us. So we definitely have a lot of creative, inspired people in our communities. Indeed. So please go ahead. Sorry, I know I interrupted.
Yeah, it is great seeing the different talent and backgrounds matriculating up to the surface now, and people coming forward, which is what we need. So for myself, I've had a few different jobs or careers, and my main one has been in education in the public school system. And I started that in 2007. So I taught in East London. I taught in an Eskimo village. I taught in a couple other states in the U.S. And there was a few years ago when I was getting the idea that I wanted to do something like what the website is right now, but I wanted to do it physically. I was, as you go through each day, you daydream sometimes and you think, what I'm experiencing right here, what I'm having to teach, how the teachers are treated or what we're doing with the students, and the declining expectations of students in this country as they continue to fall and fall and fall every year. It's less than ideal. And I thought, what would be ideal? What would I want to do? And sometimes you can have a dream, you can have a vision, but there's no way to actually get there yet. And this is kind of like a stepping stone. And also, like I said on Donald's show last week, because of the way that schools had to change for the COVID lockdowns, we basically, all the teachers in my district, we just started teaching from home, and it was a different type of curriculum. It was just like review material. It was kind of weird, but that did free up a lot of time. And so everything kind of aligned for me where I could start doing that. And like it was on Jason's shows. Jason already had that community there. So when I put out the idea, people started coming to me. Some people helped me set up the back end of that. And then so I've just stayed on it. It took me 9 months. It took a long time just to get, what's online right now, which is also just the beginning of what it's going to be. So it was kind of a vision that developed over a lot of years, and people are coming together to help. And so 2 big thumbs up on that. That's my story.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I know that you have traveled the world and met different people, different places. Now, it is obvious to those of us who live in America that we have a notable anti-white problem. And I first noticed it in education when I was in school like 25 years ago. When you travel to other countries, did you notice a similar sentiment of their version of anti-white for their cultures, or is anti-whiteism a unique phenomenon in Western countries, in your opinion?
Are you talking to me or Donald?
Both of you.
Brent, what do you?
Oh, okay. Let's see. I haven't traveled to a lot of continents, but I have traveled around in different parts of Europe. And I will say in Western Europe, yes. Okay, it's there, especially in the UK. I'm not trying to insult anyone from the UK. I feel for you. The UK is a mess. All right, it is a mess. So
Trust me, everyone from the UK would tell you, yes, we are a mess.
Okay, all right,
right?
yeah. So yeah, I taught in Barking and Dagenham for anyone who's wondering where I was over there. And also, I was in Eastern Europe, and they did not have a problem with anti-whiteism there. That was not on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be changing, but I guess like more specifically, I would say that I spent some time in the Ukraine, and no, you ain't gonna shove anti-whiteism on those people. Now, if they change in the future, yeah, but right now, no, that ain't happening.
Some of my family are from the Ukraine, and I had great-grandfathers and great-aunts and stuff that died in Holodomor. And so I sort of grew up a little red-pilled on the whole commie question.
Got it.
They none of my family that escaped the Soviet Union have kind things to say about what went on over there.
Right. Well, I lived in Asia for 5 years. I did an exchange program in Japan, mostly studying the arts and Buddhism. And that, I mean, I don't know how to say that they adore us. They love whites over there. So it's actually the opposite. You're treated like a rock star. But
Wow.
yeah, even that is, well, and then I also lived in Taiwan for 4 years. So they're very, very different cultures. People conflate Asians as just all the same, but they're not, believe me. And then the history.
I have a friend who lives in mainland Taiwan, also known as China.
Oh, well done. Yeah, I did experience some racism in Taiwan, only because in this specific situation, I was at this kung fu school, and I was just doing really well, and one of the instructors didn't want a Waiguoren, a white man to be better than him, and he just kept me down and kind of made me just sort of locked me in one place where I couldn't advance. And it was obvious, what that was. But I mean, this is nothing compared to the garbage that people are experiencing in their own countries, like in the UK and elsewhere. Yeah. So it's quite the opposite, as far as in general, Asians adore us. And I have a kind of a running theory that at some point, whites and Asians are going to have to become allies, or that we're already allies, but we don't quite know it yet, against globalism.
I think so. I think so too, because say what you want about the CCP, like the government. I'm not, lots of times when I talk about Taiwan and China, it's important to make sure that people know a government is not its people. The sins of a government are not its people.
Of course.
And I've met and spoken to many Chinese in America that are from China. They absolutely loathe their government and what the government has done.
The kind of suffering they live through, there's no comparison. I mean, we don't want to know that. We don't want to get to that, right? And I'd say any peoples from any culture or country that have suffered under communism are in some way our allies, and we need to provide some form of a platform in which we can combine and become like an anti-communist union, if you will.
Yeah, something like that, right? Because especially, I think that's one of the reasons that, I mean, not tooting my own horn, but one of the reasons I've been based for so long is having family that knew about, from the inside, having to live behind the Iron Curtain. They know that no matter how rotten and corrupt things are here, it still loads better than that alternative.
Sure.
And while I know that the China that is today is not, Mao's China or whatever, I know that it's more of like a modernized National Socialist mixed with old guard communism type of government set up in China. It lacks the underpinnings of safeguarding freedoms and allowing people to have any shred of like anti-government sentiment, like in America here.
Right.
And that's why I think that America is still a great place to love and fight for, is because I love our Constitution and our way of life, and that's why I consider myself an American nationalist, not just, you know, a nationalist for white people in general, but I love what America is. It's one of the reasons I love the UK. I love Wales and England and Scotland and Ireland. I want those places because those also, you know, Germany and Finland and Sweden and all these other wonderful places that immigrants came from to build America. The UK is a wonderful place too. A lot of our laws and ideas that have made us wonderful come from those ethnicities in the British Isles. And so those people need to have their heritage and be proud of it and teach their kids to be proud of it because it's something worthy of being proud of.
I tend to think of American nationalism as not just for Americans, but for all Europeans and even all freedom-loving peoples. Like in Central and South America, there's a lot of people that, you know, are on our side as far as like right-wing views. And, you know,
I think I have several Hispanic and mixed race members of Hispanic descent in my followers.
So I think the true paradigm is not so much the kind of Democrat versus Republican, but it's globalist versus nationalist.
Yeah, I made that distinction the other day, that it's like patriots and nationalists versus globalists and communists. That's kind of the new dichotomy that we're looking at.
The new paradigm, or it's not new, but the paradigm.
I mean, that's what I mean. It's like that's dominating discourse among people who actually care now. It's not really left versus right anymore.
Yeah, but it's important that people know that. I think that's the difference between us and normies, is they don't get it. They still believe in a system that is rigged against them, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's why the talk of the cathedral is caught on a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with Mises Molbug or not, but the concept of the cathedral is the whole left-right political thing and us having votes. That's like the absolute bottom rung of interaction with the power structure.
Right.
And then above that is like the second tier, which is like media and Hollywood and that kind of stuff. And then above that is industry lords. And then above that are like the global elites, the bankers, Wall Street, all those types that actually control things. And our culture is dictated to us down through that hierarchy to where our votes and what we have to say in the left-right paradigm, that doesn't really matter anymore. So until we start taking bricks out of the wall of the rest of the cathedral, the illusion of control with the vote is going to remain that illusion.
Well said. Well said.
So, I would love to show some of your work here today. Do you want me to start off by sharing some of the gallery work of yours, or do you want to?
Sure. I just for the audience, just bring it all into context. So, I'm a professional artist and an art teacher, and then that bridges into my having Brant on the show and talking about his development in education. So, but obviously the bigger umbrella here is white positivity. So you go ahead and share the screen with
Sure, I'll get on that.
AmericanZarathustra.com. At the site, you're going to find some of my web comics. There's links to my YouTube show. And then there's one area that's a gallery that I believe we're going to be looking at right now. And there it is. And so as she scrolls down, as we look at the different works in there, some of these you can see the after party. If you click that on, I designed the show I designed the graphic for TAP, which I'm super proud of. And I'm going to honk my horn as long as.
That's awesome. Yeah,
you're the one that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made that. Yeah, that's
Well
one of the first times that I noticed, because whenever I first saw that like a year ago, I was like, man, that's like everything cool about old-timey pulp American art mixed with like fashion, neo-fash art. Like that's just perfect. Like look at that. That's just beautiful.
Well, it was quite cool. Jason reached out to me, I think maybe on Proton Mail or something, and said, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I did actually do another design for him regarding shadow banning and how he was being shadow banned. That one never kind of reached fruition like this one, but I'm super proud of this piece. And like, it's just so weird to kind of be scrolling through the internet and come across this, because he is prolific. He puts out so many shows. And so I'm constantly seeing that graphic all the time. But, you know, again, I'm just super proud to be a part of his world in some way.
Yeah, he's done amazing work for a long time, and one of the reasons that I love Jason's work and I talk about him a lot and bring up his Go Free book is give me a framework through which to talk and to care
Mhm.
and he also gave me a an avenue of community into people who care about white well-being
Mhm.
and making the West better, not just saving it, but making it better and giving us a positive path towards things. Because I don't know if you saw my passionate video recently about the fire of Prometheus, is what I called it, where we the reason that you don't just name the J or name the Browns or name the alphabet people as the problem to point the finger is you're forever damning them as being an enemy. But when you talk about anti-whiteism, you're offering them a hand and saying, "Take my hand, brother. Take my hand, sister. You don't have to be ugly anymore.
Yeah.
You can be positive. You can build with the people that made this great land. We aren't enemies. It doesn't matter if you're Mexican or Japanese or Jewish or black. You can be a part of this great country and our great people. Like the Europeans have a multitude of ethnicities. We're the people of light for a reason. A light, that's why I like to reclaim the rainbow. Light is all the colors of the spectrum. And I feel like the myriad European ethnicities represent so many facets of creativity and thought and frameworks of ideas. We need to offer everyone to be supportive in making our countries, all of our ethnicities, from Finland to America, emboldened and enriched because everyone's lives are better when they work in service to that well-being.
So I often say that, the way that people of color are being trained to think is anti-white. But if you look at who created the world that they benefit from and all the services and education and et cetera, civilization itself, they should be protecting whites. It's actually the opposite. Rather than trying to destroy us, they should be protecting us because we're the ones, they use all our resources. Without us, this land would become Africa. You see, it's we're the ones that are, the progenitors, I guess, of this world and the modern world per se. So
and like we talked about earlier, without you don't damn a people because of the actions of their government. Whether you're talking about the brother wars that tore apart Europe and exhausted an entire generation of people, you're talking about the ugliness of all of the horrible U.S., Israel, NATO military alliance and all the ugly things that it's done for the petrodollar. Those things are not our people. Our people hate that stuff. We work to end all of that. Like we want environmentalism. We want an end to the wars. We don't want any of that stuff. But we want to celebrate and to build and to uplift and to enlighten. Like our people are a wonderful people that just look at why we are. Look at why in the last 300 years we have gone to Asia and Africa and the Middle East and South America. We want to take beautiful things to everyone who will hear them, and we want to lift people up and have a wonderful civilization. And look at America as testament to that.
I think so. I mean, it's obviously a very rich and deep topic. There's a lot of views and a lot of history to cover on that, but I definitely appreciate, your perspective on it. And so speaking of culture, this artwork here is there's a huge variety. This is a digital abstract painting.
The one with the two faces?
No, the previous one. That one's more of a surreal piece. I'm very interested in surreal art. I like to try lots of different things. And, this is almost more experimental with certain kinds of digital painting software. So, I don't know if you want to kind of work through.
I do. I want to show any art you want to share because I
Oh
love.
well, we could be here all day, so I don't want to.
I like this one a lot. I like this one.
Yeah, that was a commission for a graphic novel, and when you're doing cover art for books, you have to tell the story, so you can see, this is the time where France and England are competing on the oceans, and you have this kind of Captain Hook type character. It's fun and enjoyable. And I'm like French and English, so for me that was kind of a neat little fun thing to do.
Tell me about this hilarious piece. Tell me about the Zuckerberg and
that was a commission years ago. I had a Minds channel, and there were just some pretty hardcore hard right people out there, and there was a dude who liked my art and said, hey, how much for this commission. He basically described what he had in mind, and then I embellished on it, like with the medals on their chests, that all those, I kind of designed that. You can see like the euro and the Muslim symbol, and it's all the coloring and even the style itself, the way that Zuckerberg is breaking the sort of fourth window there, if you will.
Yeah.
So
like he's breaking free from the screen and coming into you. Like
in a way, I mean, I wasn't very knowledgeable about World War II history at the time, so to me, I would never use this kind of Sieg Heil type posture for Zuckerberg. I think I know
it would be more of like the Stalin Soviet salute.
There you go. Yeah, this is one of the number one problems of normies, is that they're constantly referring to Nazis and Hitler when what they really mean are communists, and they don't understand that history. But anyway, I'm proud of the piece. I think technically it's nice,
Oh, it is. Yeah. Let's move on to another piece here. I'd like to look at least another couple before we move on to School of the West here. Sure. I really like this one because I like this man. Would you like to tell people about this man and why you made this piece?
I used that as an example in my portrait drawing class. I used to teach a portrait drawing class. And so what I would do is I take that from what's the dude, what's the movie I'm thinking of?
Big Lebowski. Every time I think about saying sarsaparilla.
Yeah, Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott is his name. And he's just so Americana. I mean, look at it, right? Yeah. So and just the details and the characters and the subtle shadows and the pencil work and blah, blah, blah. It's an excellent example. So I draw this and then I take photos of it in the process to show the students, this is how I build up the portrait, right? And then I did actually have that published in, I think, the first White People's Quarterly as well. But the work I'd really like to show you is actually at the bottom of that portfolio. If you scroll down, you'll start seeing some of the works that are closer to what I'm doing now, which is more what I would call Imperium art. So Imperium art being, the concept of art for our movement, white positive.
Okay. Let's scroll down and look at some of these here. Let's. Which ones do you want to show?
Right there on the.
This one?
Nope, that's Josh Neal's cover. Go over one and down one.
I like it. Let's look at this for a second. I'm sorry. This one's a hoot. I like this one.
It is a hoot. Yeah, now this is an exact example of like working as a graphic designer. So Josh Neal would tell me, okay, I want to see a woman running away from all these cliche examples of men, and I'm a feminist and 10 other things women never want to hear in the politically incorrect guys.
You got everything from the insufferable fedora all the way over to the old-timey womanizing Sean Connery type.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah. So he did a book on dating in this modern age, and so it's meant to be funny. And I think if you're a professional artist, it's like being a chef. You can't just make hamburgers. You got to be able to make any kind of thing that your clients want. So you'll see, examples of like, Asian art and portraiture and abstract art, logos. I do it all, essentially. That's how I make a living.
That's one of the things I like about my channel is I do my best to be broad spectrum because I want anyone who cares at least a little about the West and all of its peoples to find something relatable and positive on my channel. That's why I invite different creators and people from different spectrums onto my channel to have a talk. Let's move on to a piece that you want to talk about. You said
just go over one and down one. It's the man with the sword there. Yeah. So this is featured at my Twitter page. It's
beautiful. I love it.
It's the first piece that I did intentionally as Imperium art. And the idea was to essentially, Nullis and I are going to put together a book on Imperium art. And this is meant to represent all the issues that whites are facing against this era of white genocide. And it ties history into our current situation. So you see a burning church in the background. You see the children being sacrificed to Moloch. And then I create some of my own symbols as well. The idea of the double-headed snake, the eagle, having it in its jaws, that a lot of times you just kind of want to imply things. if you look closely at the vines, you'll see symbols inside the vine work that is kind of growing over that figure.
Let me see if I can let me embiggen this.
Embiggen it, yes.
Hold on. I gotta re-embiggen here.
Okay, if you can.
Let me try the whole copy link address thing. Let's see if that works.
If you can. And then I created a sigil down at the bottom left. There's some kind of graphic design devices there where I'm, using black and white and color to create contrast.
Unfortunately, it looks like I'm retarded.
No, that's fine as it is. I mean, people can go to my Twitter page and click on it.
No, this is a beautiful piece because it shows, like, to me, when I don't know a lot about
symbolism.
What's the symbolism there to take Lollipopscarius? There's a little Boondocks reference there for people that are old like me. The symbolism. What is the symbolism here?
Well,
the symbolism to me is the white man is burdened and held down by a lot of things, but is still holding up other things, and he's got his hand on something important and is gesticulating with his other hand to try to tell you something important. That's what I feel when I see this.
You're very right. It's, in a sense, think of a movie. When you start a movie, you kind of want to know, how is it going to end? There's something in there, and you have to follow the narrative to put the pieces together and then understand what, the whodunit or whatever the mystery might be. And so there's all kinds of clues here, and I use visual devices to lead the eye around the artwork. People who want to do a little studying on history, and some of it's kind of obvious. I'm using certain symbols there. I'm altering symbols. By putting these symbols together in this way, it's making a statement. And the difference between, say, visual art and, I guess, say, advertisements is that there has to be some level of mystery. I wouldn't say so much cognitive dissonance unless you mean it to have that, but you want to entice the viewer. You want to excite and entice them, seduce them almost, to go into the world and surrender themselves to the artwork, live inside the artwork, invest themselves in it, so that the artwork has a place in their heart and their mind, and then it has a place in history.
Definitely. I think that's a beautiful one to wrap up on here.
That's cool.
Let's admire this piece here,
well,
and just admire it, because it really is a great piece. I approve. In the 90s, I used to want to be an artist and draw a lot, and that's why I went to art school, and I took a lot of comic book drawing classes. And this reminds me of some of the stuff that I tried to do. Nowhere near as good as this, of course, but this reminds me of stuff when I was younger. I like how you've got the blood coming down from the cross, that because Christianity in all of its different forms is a really big part of the West right now.
Sure,
and it has been for a long time. That's a good piece of the art there.
Mm-hmm.
This is just really wonderful stuff, Don.
Indeed. Thanks for showing it.
Yeah, of course. Now, what I'm going to do is, before we move further, what we're going to do is we're going to go to chats and super chats, and we're going to talk to the audience, and we're going to see if there's anything. We do have a very generous paid donation over on Entropy here. We have from the Alabastard, one of my most loyal Yizraelites. The Alabastards, for $50
Wow.
got a bit of bonus and thought I'd share it with a favorite streamer. Keep up the good work, Yizz. Thank you, Alabastard. Her and her husband are wonderful people, and they recently had to, unfortunately, white flight themselves to a safer place because they lived. I'm not going to spoil where they lived, but they lived in one of the most dangerous places for us in a large metro area on the west coast of America, and they recently white flighted somewhere safer. But they have a better job and a better life setup now, so they're doing a lot better now. And I'm very thankful that their home life and their business has gotten better lately. So good to see you here today, and I'm very thankful for the money. That definitely helps keep me going, because I still can't get work contracts here. So it's the whole lockdown's hurt us all in the pocketbook a lot. Unless you happen to be someone who is a rich approved megacorp, and then you've been making a killing the last 8 months. All right. Let's see what we have on Trovo. Nothing going on over on Trovo today. And over on D Live, oh, we've got Jim over here today. Howdy, Jim. We've also got Alex and Joe. Hello, Jim, Alex, and Joe over on D Live. Glad to see you here today. And let's see what we got on the old Cash App and the PayPal. And if we don't have anything on those, we're going to move to School of the West here. All right. Refreshing PayPal as we speak and checking the old Cash App. Okay. Looks like PayPal is, well, it's thinking about it. Come on, PayPal. Okay, there it goes. No, nothing new on PayPal and nothing new on Cash App yet. So the thing that we're going to look to now, we are going to talk to Brant Danger because he, in my opinion, has created, or is creating is a better way to put it, is in the process of creating the most important thing that we can do involving saving the West. And what is that? That, my friends, is how to educate our children with healthy white positivity. And this is School of the West. So, Brant Danger, would you like to tell me some about what led you to creating this, or just start talking about the School of the West, my friend?
Yeah, sure, I will. First, I got to say, Donald's work is fantastic. So, put that out there first. Amazing.
His work is incredible, and I'm thankful to have him on today.
Yeah, like Yizz, like you, I used to doodle around with some artwork in the past and did some work amateuristically. I mean, some decent work, but not for money. And then I look at Donald's work and I go, oh, geez, like he did all that.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
A lot of work.
When we're off stream,
Yeah.
I can share some artwork with you guys. I
All
even
right.
have a watercolor I made for my mom hanging up on the wall in the hall here.
Well, there's
So-
still time, man. Keep doing it.
I do it occasionally. But anyway, Brant, please continue.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that I made a few comments earlier about, I was thinking about moving towards something that didn't really exist yet. And this is a step going towards that direction because we don't have the land and we don't have the money or like liquidity, as Jason Kunin would say, all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure the anti-whites would try to put up regulations to, stop the actual physical building of school that would be aimed for our people and for white well-being. So as the site exists right now, you can think of it as a supplement for parents that are homeschooling. There's not a sign up that you have to do. There are not live lessons. There are PDFs that can be downloaded and used. And there are lots and lots of pre-recorded video lessons, mostly in ELA and science right now. There's also a little bit of history culture section, and there is a white well-being section as well, and science. So what I'm doing is, besides the coordination of everything and getting the site, working all the time, I am creating some basic lessons. My job is to finish all the 5th grade math. And then I'm also making the white well-being section. So I'm going to have a section for youth and then a section for teens as well. So I'm trying to take Jason's work, and like what Donald said before and then last week, when you're a teacher, what you have to do is you have to realize the emotional and the social and the cognitive level of the students that you have, and it changes year by year. And so whatever you're going to teach that grade level or that age range, you have got to create the material so that they can understand it. And then you give them this material. Now, for a website that's online, you can just present the material and then they've got to work with it and their parents have to work with it. You can't actually be there leading them through it, but you can develop it step by step. And, it takes a while to do that, because if you're going to create a video, which I believe is the best way to do this, if you're not actually doing it live, it takes a while to put the information together. So I'm working on that part. There are other people who are working on material about real life skills, cooking, baking, sewing, working on cars, how to be, a policeman or a fireman or a paramedic or whatever. People who have different hobbies. There's some people out there that are, working on that. I have someone that may be working on, nutrition for youth. And I am contacting people who are from different countries in our European diaspora to put together videos or material that talk about their culture in their specific country, say like maybe Australia or South Africa or something like that. So they can talk about their culture and the history of their country.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to do that because, as Jason says, we're one people and we're spread over many different nations. So I would like to have a site that has information about all of us. And if there are people from other countries that want to make lessons in languages besides English, I welcome that as well. So all of this stuff,
like this guy I know named Full Moon Ancestry. Do you guys know him?
Yeah, I've talked to him a couple times. I haven't worked with him on anything, but I know who he is.
Me either. But one of the things that he says on sorry, Donald, go ahead.
I just wanted to say he's on Imperium Art. I could get the link to that episode for you, but you can go on. Yeah.
One of the things that he said once that stuck with me is white healing and white positivity. It's not about creating some. It's about recognizing our racial unity together, but observing the beauty of our ethnic sovereignties and what makes us such a great people all put together.
Wow.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. He's awesome. He has incredible energy. He writes for Countercurrents as well. And as an American living in Eastern Europe, he's quite interesting in that, he's learning different languages and he's getting the feel for the life over there. I love anybody who's helping us in North America to bridge into Europe. I think that's extremely important. We should try more of that. Yeah.
Indeed. I've got your site open here. Is there a particular category you want me to pop open and show people what the site's like? Anything you want me to pop open?
Sure. Okay. So, all right, sure. So the one, the white well-being on the top left, you click on the little hamburger menu there. It'll pop down. Click on that.
Nice. I like the highlight turning it green. That's good. Did you encode all of this? Did you build the site?
I built the site, but I didn't have to do a lot of the back end encoding. I'm using WordPress and I'm using different plugins. So there's just a little bit of coding that I have to do if I want to tweak things that are not basically set up for it.
I'm going to hide our avatar things here so people.
Okay. All right. And then Yizz, if you scroll down below that, then you'll see the different
two
sections.
There we go.
Okay. So this little section at the top here, that's two videos. And for people that are familiar with Jason's work, it's a basic introduction to what the heck does go free mean anyway? And then the meaning of biospirit. So these are set up for kids that are going to be like ages like maybe 4 through 7, something like that. So when you teach something to kids, you can't teach them the whole concept. You got to figure out, well, which parts of the concept are they going to understand? And then you give that to them. So it has to be oversimplified. But like I said, it's got to be something that they can get, and then you can build upon that later on. So there's going to be the section for the youth, and then there'll be a section for teens as well. And one of the guys that's working with us, just on his own, he did a few videos on recognizing propaganda. And I think what I'm going to do is I got some other ideas for this section. I'm going to add some links to some of Blackpill's videos about the movie industry.
Yeah,
because
one of the ones I watched. I actually watched part 1 the other night in preparation for this stream, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is good stuff. See, part of what's going to happen when people start to use this is, first of all, I don't want the site to appeal to just one specific section of people that identify themselves in one way. And I don't want it to just appeal to people that say, I am a Nordic, or I am a pagan, or I am a Christian, or I'm a Baptist, or I'm a whatever I am. It's for all of us. It's for Western kind. It's not for one specific slice. So I want it to be like a foundation, and I want it to be positive, kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier. And like you said, you don't have to be ugly anymore. Well, there's not going to be anything ugly about the site, and there's not going to be anything negative about other people. Now, sometimes, like in the videos that I made for the Going Free for the Youth, it's impossible to talk about what our situation is without talking about other people, because we live on this planet with other people. And part of the problem that we have is because of some other people. So as lightly as I can treat those subjects, but still get the point across, that's what I'm going to do. And the material which is on the site is going to change over time. It's especially going to flower in the history section and in the art and in the culture section, because I have people that have a lot of really good ideas and they've already been working in that field, and they've made videos for adults, but they also understand that it's going to be powerful and important to make that for children. So they're going to hit that for different age groups. So some of the material is going to be for little kids, and some of it's going to be for teenagers all the way up to college age, depending upon what people are comfortable with making for the site. Now, the stuff that I make is mostly going to be for elementary level, and I'm going to do a little bit for like junior high level. That's my kind of specialty range in there. But the constraint for me is just the amount of time that I have available to work on it. I know what I want to do, and it needs to be like much bigger than it is. It needs to have community pages and forums. It needs to have feedback so I can talk to parents. Parents can talk to each other, be part of a community. So all that stuff is going to happen. It's just going to take a while to get there. And so I'm thinking of it as something that can bind all of us together, and it's all positive. And it kind of goes with that. I guess it's not a saying or an idiom, but it's the idea like this. If you are a coach for a sports team or for an athlete, the way that you get your team to win is you don't go over and boo the other team while they're practicing. You don't try to give them food poisoning. You don't try to, do anything negative like that. You coach your team, you make your team be as strong as possible, and then you win. So
exactly.
We also have to build parallel structures to what's existing right now. We can see that maybe we need a parallel government. We need parallel education. We need a parallel banks. We need parallel social media. We need all that kind of stuff. So this is my attempt to build a foundation for parallel education. And once you have parallel education, you can start building other structures on the top of that.
This is what I call the great exodus. You can see that it's happening everywhere right now, just organically. As they boot us off other platforms, we create our own platforms. But I think people like Brant are seeing way into the future, and we need many more visionaries like this, in every field. Kulak, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, there's AmericanKulak.org, I believe it's called. I posted a link to it on my Twitter. It's essentially creating a kind of a bank, basically, for our people. You can see the way that the Bitcoin thing is going right now. You're talking about getting on Odyssey, for example. There's just there's a really good. There's just so many things happening. But anyway, I wanted to interrupt, and I apologize.
Oh no, that's fine. What Brant was talking about us branching out and making our own parallel things. One of the things that I like most about white well-being and the people that I've met is I'm sort of an old school minarchist and cap libertarian type. That's sort of the folks that I come from here in the boonies. And we have always liked the idea of, well, we don't want to be a part of that nasty FedGov stuff. We're just going to do everything for ourselves. We're going to teach our kids. We're going to have our own churches. We're going to have our own activities. We don't need a gun club. We're just going to go shoot over on Randy's farm, that kind of stuff. And so I like that mindset because I think a lot of our peoples all throughout Europe and America and Australia and South Africa, we have so many of our people that are willing to just say, well, to hell with that. I'm just going to build my own. And we need to start getting those people working together to literally do that, but in modern ways. Because what he's talking about was supplementing education. Look at these crazy, ridiculous lockdowns that we've had. In America, you've got millions of parents now with their eyes wide open at the garbage their children were being fed in these cancerous schools. Like, homeschooling is on the rise in a huge way in America. And I imagine there's a lot of people in other European countries that are like that right now, too. So, on top, we should ride that wave and embrace this change. Because, like I tell people here in my mountain holler, it's good to have your own pigs and chickens, and it's good to protect your bottom land with your shotgun. But when an oppressive government comes to take it from you, that ain't going to help. Like, 1,000 tanks and drone strikes ain't, you can't fight that stuff off. Right. So the quote unquote warfare that we're entering into is fifth generational. We have to be preparing our people to utilize the information age, to utilize homeschooling, to utilize all the digitation of trade and cryptocurrency and all of the things of our modern era. We have to be smart and modern, or those who seek to oppress us and take what is ours are going to win. And I think that this type of School of the West idea, it's beautiful to me because it's a manifestation of a modernization of the kind of ideas that I think are most important to our people.
Beautifully said. I often complain that, whites are a group of individuals, which is an oxymoron.
Yeah, but we are, though. It's true.
It's innate. It's innate to us. We have this very strong individuality and sense of I'm just going to go do it myself. And like these days, we're just so comfortable that we get anything we want at a click of a button. And we don't think in terms of like we have to create our own world now. We literally do. We literally have to. That's the great exodus. And so
I talk to people sometimes about how they're scared of gulags and they're scared of what they call Soviet or communist oppression. And my counter to that is, well, what do you think that we live in now? We live in an intellectual trade gulag already. You've got Walmarts, you've got Amazons, you've got the public school system, you've got everything from Hollywood to MTV to Cartoon Network. That is almost an inescapable intellectual and market gulag that we can't get out of. We're going to have to start building our own, or we're going to be stuck in that fifth generational gulag forever, and our children will have no future.
That's precisely true. And I think our people need to be extremely educated on what critical race theory is, because it's the heart of the beast. It's it's the target that we must destroy to save education, culture, and our history in general. And in short, it's the Marxist doctrine for multicultural societies that sets
critical theory is our enemy's word for anti-whiteism.
Yeah, and it's the so-called, it's like the faux intellectual education platform on which all this stuff, like the news about Pepsi's be less white training and that kind of thing.
Coca-Cola, technically. But
I'm sorry, whatever, whoever. It's it's all the same. It's all the same brand, but it's it's really laying the groundwork for a race war, where instead of in say Russia, they had to have a class war, or in other homogenous societies they have class war, but in America specifically, they want to use this as the groundwork for a race war. That's why they're pushing it so much into corporations, into entertainment, everywhere.
Before I started doing live streams, the Corner Club was where I had long form videos talking about important topics. And one of the last ones I did before we went live with this 6 or 8 months ago was the Marxist lie of racism. And it was specifically what you just said about how the ones that want to use social strife to break us and control us, which basically that's what Marxism is, that's the Soviet model, is they realize that because of the boom of technology and marketing and successes of our capitalist structure, which of course my viewers know I have certain problems with, but that elevated people to a point to where the ones who seek to drive wedges between us and turn us against each other, class was no longer an option. Wealth disparity was no longer an option because of how personally successful everyone could be with money and food and having your own car and that kind of thing. So they said, well, what can we use that people can't escape with this system? Well, you can't escape your sex and you can't escape your race. Hence all the quote unquote racism and quote unquote feminism. All that stuff is just Marxist anti-whiteism in different names.
Yes, well spoken.
Go ahead, Brant.
No, I just said well spoken. Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, justice is about equal rights, but social justice is about equity, quote equity. It's about equal outcomes. So only social justice matters.
Yeah.
It's twisted. It's a very twisted worldview.
Equality and equity are both lies of our enemies. One is a different kind of lie than the other, but both of those are lies meant to distract us and cripple us, because we know that since our people embrace and love nature, we know that nothing is equal. Identical twins aren't equal. Puppies of the same litter aren't equal. You can never have any equality or equity because it's anti-science, it's anti-nature. And the only equality, in my opinion, that we should even consider is equality under fair and just law. That's the only kind of equality that we should ever discuss in any reasonable sense.
I think it's the only place where the word equality actually means anything, because that's what it is. But and I often bring that up in these kind of debates with leftists, as I talk about, you are already equal under the law. So, but as far as like being equal in the big liberal sense of the word, I'll joke around and say like I'm not equal to LeBron James at playing basketball, and he's not equal to me at, say, comic book illustration or something.
And Brant, you and I aren't anywhere close to equal to Donald's art.
No, that's not fair. I want equality right now.
Pull out guns. Call the bigotry police. Here they come.
That's right.
It's crazy. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to interject here. I think that it's the big umbrella over why we're doing what we're doing, is that it's, this critical race theory is already woven into every aspect of society. And so, I'm just echoing Brant's points that we have to build our own society now. We literally have to rebuild everything. And it's weird. They're kind of two worlds that like almost like a ghost world that lives inside another world. And hopefully at some point, we'll get the leverage that we need to pull the numbers in to the white positive world. Because when, you think of the elite and their money and their structures, it's all about compliance. They've essentially brainwashed and drugged everybody else into this wacky, liberal, crazy world that we're in.
And
but once
the Alabastard made a good point in chat, I'd like to say, because it dovetails nicely with what you're saying, that progressivism is regressive. And that's one of the reasons why in Christian mythology, it's very apt to call our enemies and what's happening right now satanic, because satanic is the inversion of God, the inversion of truth, the inversion of morality. And as we can see from the earliest days of Bolshevism and Marxism, the goal was to subvert and invert everything about our structures and values to destroy us. And when you look at what they call progressivism, it is regressive. It is becoming more debased. It is unraveling the structures that made us great. Then when you look at what they call diversity, it's the opposite of what that word used to mean in our language. It's the forcing of debased and blunt groups to overtake another group and thereby destroying what that word used to mean. You look at not just the words progressive and diversity, but you look at words like fair, free, trust, truth. Those words are even in danger right now of becoming satanically inverted to mean the opposite of what we knew them to mean. So it's definitely regressive, not progressive. And if you look at people like Donald and me and Brant and many of the beautiful minds that are wanting to build a better way, we embolden and embody the spirit of progressivism, the spirit of wanting to reach a better future for all of us. Like, ironically, we end up being the progressive ones, even though they beat us with the Luddite stick all the time.
I often say things like, "Oh, there's so much diversity in the white art collective," and I bite my tongue like, "Oh, I didn't mean that." I have to kind of, because they've co-opted just the English language. It's absurd how much these words are like whacked out now that we can't even just talk straight anymore. And but yeah, I'm with you on that.
All right, I want to jump in real fast here. So, like what Donald just said, that book ends with talking about how the Marxist overlord, anti-white POSs are trying to start a race war, and we have to create our own parallel structures. And can we get it done in time or not? And I think we can. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But one of the things that became more and more apparent to me after I went down the red pill journey is that so many people were asleep, or it seems like so many people were insane and had imbibed this anti-white rhetoric. And one of the things that I like about what Jason Kuna does is that early on, because he's been in it for so long, he understood that the words that people use, even when you use those words in your thoughts, that controls what your thoughts are to a certain extent. So you have to change out the words that they told you to use with the words that we decide to use.
Exactly. Right. Because I've always said language is a toolbox. We, like, as primates, as we evolved, we create tools. Language is a tool. A tool for building what's in my head into a thing so it can go into other people's heads. And the subversion of our language is breaking all of our tools for sharing ideas. And if you can't share ideas properly, you can't have community. So that they've wanted to destroy that tool set in us. And that's why I think Jason's work has such value.
It breaks reality in a sense, in terms of how you perceive truth. When words are backwards and everything is backwards. But unfortunately, they've created this massive echo chamber through all these different media, entertainment, children's cartoons, colleges, TV commercials. It's almost inescapable. So we have a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. Brant, was there more follow-up on that?
Let me think if I can come up with something brilliant here.
Okay,
So, like I said, I have no doubt that we're going to win. However you want to define winning, because if you could think of all the different races, all the different cultures on the planet that you would want to bet against to try to erase, we are the last people that you should be doing that to. It's going to backfire in a big way. Like you pick the wrong people to try and mess with without trying to Fed post here.
Oh no, definitely no. I'm like, it's okay to Fed post lightly on my channel. It's okay. I do it occasionally for fun. But no, you're right about that, because when you look at the history of our people, it's like we are the calm, collected ones that sit in the room and we're quiet and we let people, make a mess and knock our drinks over. And eventually we're just going to stand up and put on our Viking helmet and pick up our axe and shield and murder every motherfucker in the room. Like that's eventually what it's going to come to if we don't get ahead of this.
Here's the key point. I've been saying this over and over and over, is that we on the right, in our sphere here, we're trying to stop that from happening. We're trying to like get control of this crazy train before it crashes, because if it does, it will be catastrophic, right? So it's actually, I was, for all the feds listening out there, we're not the bad guys, right? Look, go to Black Lives Matter and Antifa and focus on those are the real domestic terrorists. Look at people in the Democrat government, leaders in the government there that are calling for all kinds of violence and celebrating violence against Trump supporters. That's domestic terrorism. It's not people saying, hey, let's all, have a healthy culture. And let's just be real.
And I think a lot of our people already know that. And when I say our people, I don't just mean whites. I mean, we have a lot of aware and based Mexicans and blacks and Asians that are on board with us. So it's very important for listeners. Like, we are talking about white healing and white positivity, but none of the guests that I have on, myself included, we are not excluding anyone because of his or her race, ethnicity, or religion. We want people who are in the West to align to the healthy archetype of Western civilization. So this is what we're talking about. Does not exclude you if you're mixed race or black or whatever. We want you to participate in this wonderful civilization that we have going. We don't want it to collapse and fall apart.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about people of color, biracial people. They should be protecting the West. And how do you do that? You protect whites, because we are the West. It is born from us. Yeah.
And also, we have a long history of liking other people's anyway. Like, when you look at the last 3,000 or 4,000 years of our history, we beef on each other and fight with each other a lot. But we're also quick to lay down the axe and have a beer together too. And I mean, it's true. Like, and when you look at our people, we've had conquest. You've got conquistadors did ugly things. You've had people of all different ethnicities doing ugly things. But when you look at what Western kind has done for the rest of the world, you have people that are safari goers from the 17 and 1800s. You've got nobles, you've got aristocrats and feudal lords and all these people going to different lands, loving the people there, embracing the culture, wanting to teach them our language, teach them our customs, and in exchange, taking the great things that they loved about those cultures and bringing them back to England or France or wherever. Yeah. So, our people, there is, like I tell people all the time, integration is not a bad thing. Mass migration and the forced annulment of our ability to express our biospirit, that's the evil part. That's what we need to stop. And of course, I embrace nature and what's natural and scientific, and people's enjoying other people's culture and wanting to share with them and trade with them, that's normal and natural, and I don't seek to intervene in that. And I'm assuming the two of you agree with me on that.
Guillaume Faye once said that something to the effect that having some ethnic diversity, meaning like non-white ethnic diversity in Western society, is like having salt in your soup. You want to have a little bit, but too much will ruin the soup. And
Yeah, definitely.
it's such a,
We got to say bye to Zen. He has to go do errands again.
Oh,
So
okay.
thanks for being here today, Zen. And I will show your links later. He's a Twitch streamer. He does video games. So.
Yeah, sorry.
see you
There's
later.
just not been much for me to comment on. You guys have had this stream very much in hand.
Oh, no problem. It's always nice to have you around, though, friend. We'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
Take care.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
So anyway, yeah,
I
back
feel
to what
so
you were
British.
saying. Go ahead.
I feel so British. I just said ta-ta.
See, there we are, sharing culture again.
Yeah, I'm going to go get some fish and chips now. That's what I'll do.
Oh, I love fish and chips.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's probably more to cover though on the on Brant's site on the on the School of the West.
Yeah, I have it up here. Like, Brant, is there another part you want to go through, or do you want to watch one or two of the videos today so people can see what's on the site?
actually,
I'd be glad to play a video.
Well, some of this, the lessons are not that exciting. It's like a teacher going through a worksheet, and then we'll tell you what. If you go ahead and scroll down, and we can go through the sections really quick, and then we'll end up with something there.
Sounds
So
good.
if you click on history and culture right there, click on the little hamburger below that on history. So there's only one thing that I've got on there right now. So this is going to balloon up. So we got a Viking series from Hans Hugren. So some people are creating some videos, and I'll take the videos and I'll post them up on the library and link to them there. And then some people are creating their own work on YouTube or wherever else, and I'll link to it directly. So, okay. So he's putting together a series. So as he creates these videos, I'll do a description on that, and then we'll link to it. Some of the stuff is going to be just for watching and imbibing and learning about the culture. And then some of the stuff will be set up like a curriculum. And that's going to be based upon what people are comfortable with doing, because it's a lot more work to set something inside of a curriculum, because it has to flow, and there has to be questions and feedback and that type of stuff. And students are responsible for showing learning along the way. So there's going to be a ton of stuff in this section here. So right now we just have Vikings. We're going to have history of whites in South America. We'll have history lessons from like South Africa, maybe Rhodesia, Australia, history of ancient Germany, different things like that. So different stuff is in the works. It takes a while for the stuff to come together as well. So I can never really tell people like when exactly is this stuff going to show up. So there's Hans there. So everyone who contributes to the site, I'll put whatever type of picture or avatar on there, and then their bio is going to be on there as well. So you're going to know what they're up to.
Yeah, when I was looking at your site in preparation for this stream, I went and listened to what this guy has to say on his site with a couple of these links, and he is a dedicated, caring man. He has a lot of interesting things to say. Definitely go and check him out too.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So if you go back, Yizz, to the main page.
Okay. Almost there. You have to, now remember, I'm on hillbilly internet here, so it's not going to be too fast.
Okay. Yes, this is the site is compatible with hillbilly internet as well, so it'll just be a little bit slower. Can you scroll down to the different sections there?
There we go.
So there's two things that I want to point out. If you click down on the hamburger underneath the science, okay, and life science. So life science is all we've got on there for now. Of course, it's just going to take a while. This is a very, very good series put together by someone. So I'm going to recommend people watch this series here on the site if you don't want to look at anything else. It's on scientifically proven racial differences. It goes through, as you can see, genetic, structural, physiology. It's a hard word to say.
Physiology.
Physiology.
Disease, etc.
I'm good for something,
Right. Well, it's hard to read off the hillbilly internet. I have trouble with that. I have trouble with the translation. That's the problem. Okay. And then if you can go back, and I want to send you through one other thing there, Yizz. It was a page that we looked at before. For children, if you click on the hamburger under the white well-being, if people are not familiar with Jason Kuna's work or what Go Free means, and click on that. I would suggest that people watch the video called The Meaning of Biospirit. That's like a great big background introduction, starting with the different races. So the approach that I have to this is, so I'm kind of like on the, well, not kind of like, but I'm on the autistic spectrum, which means that I view the world differently than other people. So when other people get not necessarily brainwashed, but indoctrinated in the anti-whiteism, that stuff doesn't make any sense to me. It's like it's like I woke up one day and I thought, what, people believe all this stuff? This is insane. Why would you believe that? And like this group of people over here, they built the pyramids. Well, no, they didn't. They didn't do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So my approach to the stuff that I put on here, I start with the clean slate, no anti-white nonsense on here at all. I don't put up with that at all. And so, like Jason says, this is our story. And then this is based on facts. Now, this is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. They're going to get their panties in a bunch. They're going to cry, whatever. That's something that they need to deal with. This side is here for us. There's no apologies here. This is our foundation, and we're going 100% forward with this.
Beautiful.
So that's what I would suggest people show to their children. Now, people that are going to use this site, I would suggest that you look at the videos first, just so that you're familiar with whatever it is, even if it's a math lesson or something like that, and always be engaged with your children. And whenever you're watching the videos in the white well-being section, discuss the information with your children so that they can flesh out the ideas. And sometimes children will see something and they're not in an adult world mentally, so they don't quite understand all the concepts. So I try to make the concepts as simple as possible, but still it helps to work with them.
So we have a question in the comments here. So who did build the pyramids? Aliens? If you listen to the current establishment, I'm sure they'll tell you illegal aliens did it. Yeah.
We was Kongs. I had to say that.
Oh, speaking of, let's. Someone brought it to my attention that I didn't know this, but on the U.S. Census, the way that they define who goes into the white bucket when it comes to racial demographics, white is anyone of European, Middle Eastern, or North African descent. Did you know that?
Well, I mean, it's like Hispanics are considered white in some cases, and I know that there's a range, and I know that there's interbreeding and this or whatever. But I think on a lot of the census, they skew white more than they do anything else. So it
definitely seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I think someone who's more knowledgeable about it should talk on that topic than me.
Yeah. I just wondered if you two had come across that, because I didn't know that. And I look at data and stuff all the time from the U.S. government. And I never knew that, because when I look at crime statistics, like the FBI crime stats every year, they have Arabic and Muslim, they have Jewish, they have Mexican, Mestos, South American, Latino. They have all these different group parameters, and I just assumed that the U.S. Census did too. But apparently for racial demographics, they don't. Well, I just found that very interesting. I didn't know that.
Tough to say. I think there's a deeper level to that, but yeah.
Yeah, and like Nulla said, lots of Hispanics are definitely European. Absolutely. Like,
no doubt.
Cluster just means Spanish speaking. And of those, tons are European.
Right. There's this whole Spanish X thing. It's just on the periphery of my radar. Maybe my friend John Delarose could talk about that or something. But it's interesting because people who say are Latin per se, but they have more Spanish blood. I'm talking European Spanish blood, and they're obviously white. They're on this weird crossroads between these two ethnicities or races. And, the left naturally has to attack that and turn that into an issue. It reminds me of, recently Asians are no longer considered people of color now because.
Yeah, I noticed that started happening a few years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, there's some counter arguments to this, but a lot of that plays into the whole thing where the equal outcomes. So they want Yale University, for example, to have so many black people that can get in, but they can't get in because they don't have the IQ or something like that. And whereas Asians have very high IQ, I think the highest IQ. And so, they're being attacked now on the basis of.
For sure. Yeah. Like I've been saying for a long time, before I even knew Jason's lexicon, back when I just knew to say whiteness, is the whiteness stick, the whiteness bat. That gets weaponized against anybody, like whether you're black or Asian or whatever. Yeah. This ugly anti-white Marxist crap that's going on in our society, they'll beat anybody with the white stick that they don't like or that they need to beat into submission just for the purpose. So it's like clearly Asians are the new white now.
Yeah, and like I said, they're kind of being forced into our world, so to speak.
Join us this fall on anti-whiteism as we show you how yellow is the new white.
Well, that was well done. That was, you should work in commercials or something. You got a great voice.
That was a bit confusing.
I know. On top of it.
We did have a serious question in chat of Matt says that he's heard several times the topic of who built the pyramids coming up. Who really did build the pyramids? I mean, I assumed that it was
I'll tell you
North African people, right?
Well, here's something you're not going to hear anywhere. When I taught high school, the school that I taught at had a large Muslim population, and one of the students there was from Egypt, and he was a pretty bright guy, and blah blah blah, and I got to talking. Hey, what's the deal with the pyramids? And he says if you go visit the pyramids, you'll see a sign on there in Arabic that says these were built by demons. And now that could be some kind of a Muslim frame, some kind of a superstitious thing to say, or it could be something else. I think.
Well, I know a little bit about Muslim lore, and old Islamic lore is related to another piece of occult I studied once, Solomonic lore. And the jinn, DJINN,
yes,
the jinn were the demons of the jinn world that would grant wish. That's where the whole rub a lamp, get a genie, get a wish thing comes from. Is they would sardonically or sadistically grant wishes and bring great things into being, but only to uplift and to make the ones who wished for them suffer, that type of thing. Yeah. And that might be what that sign about the demons built this is about. I don't know. It could be, that's why the civilization fell, as it wished for too great of things. I don't know, but I know a little bit about old jinn lore, and it could be related to that. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to me that there's some evidence to show that the pyramids were built by extraterrestrials. There's a lot of information about the way it's built, what it's built with, where it's built, how it is built, and in a sort of a geographic location.
Yeah, that is interesting. I watched some shows about that, how the alignment to certain stars and how other pyramids across time of the long ago are also built that way, like in Central and South America. I find that very interesting.
I think that it's easy to think that people of ancient times could easily see aliens as either angels or demons too. Like that's just available language to describe those things. So
definitely possible. In the realm of accepted ideas, though, when I was in school, I was taught that the people of that area were of Arabic and North African peoples, and it wasn't the dark-skinned black Africans that built the pyramids. It was the mixed Arabic North African skinned people that built the pyramids.
There was some study on one of the mummies that came out, and it was like, I think 40% European DNA.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that might be part of the reason why in the census data they say that Arabics and North Africans are in the European cluster, because there was so much overlap and intermarrying and interbreeding for so many years there.
Yeah. If you go to the museum in Cairo, where they have all this stuff in there are figurines from the dynastic periods, and the figurines of the people that lived at that time, they all have white skin. And like Donald just said, when the studies were done on the haplogroups, let's say like Tutankhamun, I don't know what percentage is European DNA, but it's quite significant. And if you spend some time in Egypt, it will be very evident to you that the people that are living there now did not build the pyramids.
No.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Right.
Well, I know that one of the shows I watched had a guy on there that seemed knowledgeable and respectable in his field, and he said that if you look at water lines and sediment and basic stones, I mean the base of the stones of the Sphinx and some other structures, that some of the older structures that newer structures were built on are like 20,000 plus years old, which would even predate Mesopotamia, I think. Wow. The Mesopotamian civilization. So I think that's interesting and worth considering when it comes to maybe it was aliens or some shit. I don't know. But all that stuff is Greek to me, no pun intended. I don't really understand it or spend a lot of time thinking on it. But so let's move on to something else. It's been another half hour, so let's check the chat again. We're going to start over at DLive this time. We have, thank you for the lemons over there, Matt. I appreciate that. We've got Optics Engaged over there saying howdy with a Pepe emoji. How you doing today, friend? Still don't have anybody on Trovo. And for those that are listening, if you like Trovo, I now stream to Trovo because Trovo's okay. And over on Entropy, we don't have anything in the Talk Evan widget. Not a single thing. That's too bad. I do recommend that you guys do come over to Entropy, though. Not only can you give me delicious dollary dues over there with a paid chat, but you can also leave questions and comments on the question widget on the left-hand side to ask the panelists or myself. So, let's see here. Let's check PayPal and Cash App to see if we have anything here before we start winding down the stream today. Let's see. All right. Now, remember, I'm on Hillbilly Internet. This will take a second.
Well, while you're doing that, I do want to urge everybody in these chats to share Brant's website as much as possible. I just specifically shared the meaning of biospirit on my Twitter, but it's the kind of thing that we have to push it out more. I think everyone in our sphere has some responsibility to get these concepts out into the normie sphere more and more and more.
Absolutely.
And whether they like it or not, or you're censored or not, they can't unsee it. Once they see, oh look, there's a school of the West, and there's this thing called the Western Biospirit. If somebody is going to be a baby and go, oh, I don't want to know, and shut you down, well, they can't unsee it. They know that it's out there now, and there'll be other people that'll think, what's this? That's fascinating. Click, 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 and minutes later, holy cow, this is a window to another world. So we're all growing and changing in phases. There's a kind of a sort of a bell curve, if you will, where you come into white consciousness, if you will, and then you have all kinds of baggage that you have to cut off as you go along the road until you're finally free, free, right? You kind of drop all that stuff as you go. It takes time, but we have to be patient and encouraging to everybody, who's on that road, and don't be judgmental. Even the ones that are kind of ignorant or whatever, help them out, give them a hand, So I think Brant's
Western Resonance just said in response to what you said is he's only had positive reactions sharing the School of the West with people. And so far I have too. I've not shared this with anyone yet who came back at me and said, oh, this is BS, or this is just, anti-white stuff, like, oh, this is just white supremacy garbage. Like, nobody has said anything like that to me of the sort. Everyone that I've shared this with in person and on the internet, I've only gotten positive feedback about it being well made, that it has good, valuable information for supplementing education. So far, I've not gotten any negativity about it. So that's a great sign.
Well, I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping for some kind of negative feedback to try and get into it.
None yet. If I do get any, I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah. So it is going to be a little difficult for people to attack, and that's done on purpose. And once again, that's from what I learned from Jason over the years. Like, one of the things that Jason continues to say is that, look, if people start attacking going free, if people attack white well-being, there isn't any other vectors left. You've just put all white people, everyone, in that same basket. Yep. That's going to activate everything. So if you're going to attack this site, you're attacking everything. And it's specifically designed that way. There's nothing offensive on this site about other people, and this isn't even about other people. This is just about us.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons that I love the lexicon. Like we talked about language being a toolbox earlier. I feel like having the right tool for the job is imperative. And when you use the lexicon and dialectics of anti-white, anti-whiteism, anti-white narrative, when you learn to embrace those words and ideas in your speech, it becomes the best gladius and aegis for the 5th generational spiritual mental warfare we're in. Because when you, like, whether you're at school or talking to somebody at work, or you're having to deal with someone online, or wherever you might be in your cities, when you say, no, you're being anti-white to me, calling me those anti-white slurs, I care about the well-being of Western civilization. I care about its people. And if they keep pressing it, you say, well, you're being anti-white, because if you are against the well-being of my people, you clearly just want to hurt white people. And that's ugly of you. You shouldn't be that way. And you automatically win when you make people have to attack white well-being and attack people just wanting to celebrate themselves and be healthy. So it's a wonderful aegis and gladius if you use it correctly.
it's openly racist. It drives me out of my mind how people are openly racist against whites. And then, if you try to say, that's racist, that, oh, no, racism is power plus privilege.
All that Marxist politics.
That garbage is, it's low IQ. At a certain point, you realize, like, I'm talking to somebody who, it has like a 65 IQ here, and there's really no way to have a conversation with somebody like that,
That I encourage people all the time not to argue with people who are like that. Like, the only time I encourage getting into it with someone who is a dyed in the wool anti-white, and they don't mind saying it or whatever. Like, those are what I call the antagonists in the anti-white narrative. Unless you can use that person as a platform or a launch point to get lots of people listening, or a high viewer count if it's online, to hear what you have to say, then you're only going to hurt yourself and sabotage yourself by engaging with them, and you just shouldn't do it. You should just leave it alone. Like, where we should be engaging with people are what Jason calls vagues, or what some people call normies. Regular folks who are regular citizens, they're the ones who are going to be most receptive to what we have to share about white well-being, and giving them the tools and the ideas they need to embolden their family lives and their communities. That's our target audience for interpersonal dealings, not just going out and trying to argue with people who are already jerks.
Yeah, that's nicely said. It's funny because just to be involved in the dialogue of white well-being, you have to have so many social skills, and you have to be knowledgeable about critical race theory. You have to be able to see, if they're gaslighting or, straw man argument, all that garbage. And it's exhausting. It can be, when people say to me, like, that's racist, I'll reply very confidently, I think you meant to say race realist. And when I do that, it's like a judo flip, and it smashes them on the ground. They break into a million pieces, and realize, like, I cannot beat this guy. He's not scared. He's not ashamed of being white. And if he has no white guilt, how can I manipulate him? So
the white guilt thing is an important part there. Like, if you do have to argue with people over the word racism, which I never use seriously anymore, I've cut that word out of my dialectics.
Well, it exists, but it's against us, though.
No, that's exactly my point. Is I don't want to give credence to a weapon against us. So if I'm arguing with someone, or just having a peaceful discussion with someone, and they say, well, you can't do that, or you have to stop doing the white well-being stuff because it's going to be considered racist or whatever, I say, no. Racist is code for anti-white. It's used in an anti-white way. And if you are going to say, I shouldn't care about the well-being of white people because of anti-whiteism, that's like saying, I shouldn't want the person that's shooting me, or I want the person shooting me to just use different bullets. Like, it's the framework doesn't change, but you disempower the word in the lexicon. Like, that's in my opinion, that is an excellent foil to when you're arguing with someone and the word racism comes up, and they're talking about racialized weapons in our language. The whole Marxism thing we talked about earlier with the Marxist development of using race against people. That's why I like saying anti-white instead, because it cuts out the Marxist angle of being able to have wiggle room inside that word of racism. You call it exactly what it is and say, this is anti-white. Because then, if they agree with it at that point, then they're saying, okay, well, I don't want you to be concerned about your well-being because I want you to suffer. And then you win.
Yeah. It's tricky because they think they have the moral high ground. Yet, when you expose them for their hypocrisy, and even just the word anti-white in my mind is kind of not strong enough. Like, I wish there was something as nasty as the word racism that we could use to describe anti-whiteism,
Eventually there might be. Like, the word anti-white's gaining a lot of traction. We're seeing it on bigger channels come up here and there.
Yeah, it was on Tucker Carlson. Yeah, and I suppose we're going to, obviously we keep going with that. And it's straight enough. And it's funny to see people's faces jitter when you say you're anti-white, or that is anti-white, or those people are anti-white, this policy is anti-white. And there's this kind of like struggle for a way to like explain their way out of it, And then when they realize they can't, they just sort of squirm there for a minute and realize I'm being a racist against whites. What the hell is that?
Exactly.
I mean, if
But
it's
like I said earlier, that's one of the great things about this lexicon is it gives people a choice to make. Like if you are arguing with a person and you're using some old tactics of trying to use the JQ stuff or trying to blame things on this invading group, like in the UK, if you're trying to blame stuff on the Pakistani Muslims and whatever, even if you can quote unquote win that line of argument, there is no turnaround. There's no cul-de-sac where you can loop around and come back to positivity from there. All you've done is successfully demonize and blame another group for a problem. That's a dead end. There's no getting out of that. Yeah. But if you'd use the anti-white stuff, when you get to that inevitable victory, you can say, but you don't have to be that way, right? Like you don't want to be an asshole. You don't want to be a jerk. You don't want to be called an anti-white, do you? And then the who's the racist game works in our favor because they don't want to be anti-white just as much as they don't want to be racist. And you say, okay, well then stop being that way. Let me tell you about this good book I know called Go Free. Or why don't you come hang out with me and my friends? You can see that we're not anti-white and we're also not that boogeyman word that you thought I was a few minutes ago. And people are like, oh, okay. But if all you've done is demonize their group or their race, there's no turnaround. There's no positive way out of that conversation. So that's why I like this lexicon so much.
And the thing is, there's also no way in. So I've invited many people on the left to talk to me and say, hey, why don't you actually talk to somebody in the sphere that you're demonizing and let them represent themselves? That is extremely off limits. That is like, what, you talk to a Nazi? Okay, now kill him. Like not literally, right. Not literally, but you know what I'm saying? Like they'll be cannibalized by the left if they even try to ask us to represent our own views. So they are a cult, essentially. The left is absolutely a cult. And so the problem really is that we've been working through this dialectic a long time, and I think it's effective for normies, but the left is gone. They're way off the cliff. They're gone. There's no way, I think, to reach them. And so that is the tug of war we're engaged in, is to pull our people over to our side so that, we can use non-compliance and other kinds of civil disobedience to go against their anti-white policies. Because at this point, they have all the power. And that's a damn problem. That's a serious freaking problem. If it gets to the point where our backs against the wall and it's survival, then we're going to explode in a way that will be terrible for everybody. So we're trying to stop that from getting to that, right? So yes, exactly. That's why we got to reach out. Don't be comfortable in our little zone here. This is really a lovely, wonderful culture. I love everybody in it. I don't care what differences we have or what our optics are. I love everybody in my family, in the white positive family. And, but we can't just have our little clubhouse. We got to get out. We have to reach out. That's why I'm telling you, we're essentially an army, of sort of info soldiers, if you will. Right.
Absolutely.
And every single one of us has that responsibility on us to reach out to people locally, on the internet, friends, family, whoever and whenever we can, to whatever degree we can, but don't ever stop.
Exactly.
And that's why I congratulate Brant on his website, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say we're getting close to the 2-hour mark, which is where I usually wrap up. So, Brant, your site and the work and your dedication to it is wonderful. On our way out today, is there anything in particular that you want to say that you haven't already said about your work or about networking or anything?
There's just a couple of things, because I saw a couple of questions come up in the chat. People were asking about how do they, become a part of the site or write material for it or whatever. So the best ways is to email me, contact@schoolofthewest.world. And then we can start.
I'll go grab that email address because it's right down here.
Yeah, you can see it down there.
All right, I'm going to put that in the chat for everyone, and we'll also be sharing his Gab too.
Yeah, and then at Brant Danger on Gab. Not on Twitter right now. Got kicked off of Twitter. I was too honest on Twitter. They didn't like that.
Yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to have a Twitter account either, because I keep getting attacked by anti-whites there. You know how they do.
Yeah, I had some fun days on Twitter. It got hot and heavy there for a while.
Oh yeah.
And then I know Ashkenazi asked a question about backup. Yeah, everything is if the anti-whites go after it, there's plans. They're not going to get rid of the site. It'll just pop up someplace else.
Exactly.
So everything is backed up.
So, you guys have his information. Definitely reach out to him. Share this with anyone that you can that you think would utilize it. Share it with church groups. Share it with people in your community if they're talking about homeschooling, or if you already know people who do homeschool, or just supplement their children's education if they do go to public school. And if any of you work with those who work in private schools, share this with them too, because we need to get this kind of white healing into as many organizations and communities as we can, because we need that positivity going forward. So let's move now finally to Mr. Kent here today. Donald, do you have anything that you want to talk about or share before we're on our way out today? Any projects you have working in the works you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I'm overwhelmed with projects at the moment. People keep coming to me with job offers, and it is agonizing for me to say no, because I want to be able to help everybody who's in this sphere. I'm not, this is one of those client privilege things where I don't know if I can say the names of my clients, but there's a lot of people in the white positive sphere that are coming to me for illustration, where hopefully in the coming year, you're going to see more of my work out there in our world. The one thing I'm excited about that I'm developing now is a book of illustrated speeches by Kai Moros, which I plan on publishing through the White People's Press. So, yeah, you can imagine how cool that'll be. That's pretty.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Well
but
then, we're gonna. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
no, I'm done. I'm all set. Thanks. It's been a great show.
Yeah, I've had a wonderful time. Before we get out of here, I want to tell the viewers, moving forward this year, I'm going to have more than just a Friday live stream. So in the comments below, let me know what day of the week and what time frame would be best for me to have other streams like the one you just listened to. The goal of my streams this year are going to be 3 different kinds. We're going to have highlight streams, which are like the ones we had today, where I bring on content creators, artists, musicians, thinkers that I think are invaluable to the well-being of Western kind, and we're going to talk about them and their work like we did today. The other kind of stream I want to do is where it's more of a fun panelist show, sort of like Academic Agents Unpopular Opinions, or where a group of friends will get together and talk about news, different topics, and just have some laughs and just jokingly have a good time about Clown World. That'll be a very low impact, high fun stream. I'd like to do that at least one night a week. It'll be similar to my Dragons of Disapproval that we did once on my channel last year. The third stream I'd like to do is a tactics and awareness type of stream, where I have on people that are activists, dissenters, people who are engaged in the community that do flyering, leafleting, who do speeches and community drives to raise awareness about anti-whiteism, to talk about how people can create these new frameworks of trade. Excuse me, I had a little burp there. To create new frameworks of trade and industry and whatnot. And I would like that stream to be about tactics and activism and what we can do. This stream is about who we are and the people that you should learn from and talk to. Then I'll have a fun stream, and then I'll have a tactics stream where people that will come on and talk about what we can do, who we can email, what legislations and what areas of our countries we need to push, what petitions we need to sign, that kind of stream. So let me know in the comments what you think about those types of streams and what times of the week will be good, as well as any other thoughts you have about those ideas as my channel grows and hopefully becomes more invested in the well-being of all Western kind. So with that said, thank you so much, Donald. Thank you so much, Brant, for coming on today and sharing what you did. I look forward to doing more streams with you in the future and having you on for those other streams that I talked about. And again, everybody remember, you have to use the words anti-white and anti-whiteism. It's important for us to call out our oppressors by what they do, and that is where we will have strength and unity moving forward, is by making sure that we use the right words to block the persecution coming at us, while also spreading love and positivity, hope and redemption to all of our many peoples. So, thank you for joining us this week. Thank you, Brant. Thank you, Donald. And we will see you guys next time.
Take care.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.